time. I want to continue off from where my colleague started, and I know that you see this as more complicated, but the number of projects that the CIB started 6 years ago, or 6 years into existence, was 33, and 0 were completed. And I get that there's a lot of work, but is the number still? Are we still at 33 in terms of projects started?
Mr. Chair, Ms. Lantsman, thank you. In order to provide the most precise information possible to a very reasonable question, perhaps Mr. Campbell can offer the exact number.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, just to remind that CIB is engaged in advising, investing, as well as providing research and analysis to many communities, provinces, municipalities, Indigenous groups about their projects, bringing in structuring at a very early stage. There are currently 34 projects to which the CIB has made a formal investment commitment. Those are outlined on its website. There are many, many more that are active under consideration, either in advising or structuring due diligence consideration. As many of these projects are the more complicated variety involving the private sector, often they start earlier and are engaged, and some of them, because of their complexity, will take longer to complete. The CIB also is not a procurement entity, so it's it itself not delivering the projects. It is actually making the commitment to enable them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So from 33 to 34. Minister, the last time you were at this committee, rightfully, you said that the CIB, like my colleague said, needed to raise its game. And this is obviously a committee that has recommended the dismantling of the CIB. You committed to communicating your expectations to the bank. I want to know, for the sake of the committee, are you seeing any improvements in the last 3 months? Was there any communication to the CIB?
So I think the short answer, Mr. Chair, is yes. There have been extensive and ongoing discussions with the Canada Infrastructure Bank. As I said, the chair, the board chair, or the CEO are people with whom I will have regular conversations and updates. They were in Ottawa and updated me about a month ago. I have made very clear, as have my colleagues at the table who represent our department, which is the shareholder of the bank. We have explained to them our expectations, and I am very confident that we're seeing month over month an increase, as Mr. Campbell said, both in terms of the bank's outreach to potential investors, to potential project advocates, and we're going to see over the coming months a growing list in every part of the country. I'm obviously focused on that coming from Atlantic Canada to ensure that we have the right regional balance in terms of where the bank is able to support projects as well. So I remain very confident that we have seen and will see an increased role.
Let's talk about a couple of those investments. We talked about Fortis last time. You mentioned it on whether you. I want to know from a seasoned minister, from somebody who has been in and around government a long time. Does the investment in Fortis, a company with $9 or $10 billion of profit, do you think that's appropriate as the main shareholder of the bank?
Well, you will, Mr. Chair, our colleague, Ms. Lantsman, will understand that one of the reasons why we set up a structure like a Crown Corporation is precisely so the board of directors and the senior executives of the bank are the ones that make those individual investment decisions. So I'm not involved in the decision to allocate X million dollars to Project Y. We give the bank a set of expectations. We give them direction in terms of the areas we'd like to see them work. I am confident that the bank makes those decisions on the best interest of Canadian taxpayers. Mr. Campbell said.
So the investment is actually in the project. It's not in the company. So ITC Fortis is a counterparty.
As a steward of our tax dollars, again, and a minister in this government, is a project like Fortis, do you think it's appropriate?
Well, the board of directors of the Canada Infrastructure Bank thought that that project was important. And I think, Mr. Campbell, I hadn't thought of it as concisely as he did, but we have to be careful not to pick a series of partners in any one project and decide, is that the right particular corporate entity that should participate in a particular project. That certainly doesn't feel like the role of a minister, and I'm
we can
sure the
take
due
away
diligence of the bank took all that into account.
We can
Thank
take
you
away
very
the
much, Minister.
That's
Sorry,
too
Mr.
bad. I
Lantsman.
was just getting started.
Thank you, Ms. Lantsman. Next, we have Mr.